Good evening. I'm Professor Stephen Canlian, Chair of the Master's Degree Program in Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing and Management here at FIT, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our annual Capstone Research event. As is my honor every year, it is time for us to be welcomed officially to the college by our president. But before I do that, I wanted to just take a moment. I have been reflecting over the last couple of weeks. I recently had my 18th anniversary being here at FIT. And I've been reflecting over the last few weeks about how very rare it is to be asked to be an innovator and a founder and then get to see a vision come to light. And I have one person to thank for that. It's the same person that brought me here and gave me this chance and platform, and I think all of you in the industry would agree. FIT has become the bona fide home for education and innovation and this think tank for the beauty industry. And of course, it's also very rare, especially in corporate life, for all of those of you who have spent your careers working in the beauty industry to work for 18 years under one leader. And I have had that rare privilege, and I hope it will go on for at least a few more. And I just wanted to say a special thank you tonight to Dr. Joyce Brown. When I came here 18 years ago, I was a pup, and I asked her to give me a chance to develop a leadership platform for the industry, building on our incredibly successful undergraduate bachelor's degree program. And now, of course, today, FIT really is the leader in education globally for the beauty industry. And so it is in that spirit and with a matter of great pride that I introduce to you tonight my boss, the president of FIT, Dr. Joyce Brown.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Stephen. I think I made a good choice, don't you? Yeah. You know, it's a pleasure, as always, to be able to welcome you to this Capstone event for our very special Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing and Management program. And as I say every year, and this year at its advanced age of 17, it's the only one like it in the nation. Now, as many of you know, this annual Capstone is a highlight of the FIT academic year, and one that I personally look forward to because the work that our graduating students produce is always outstanding, and clearly you, our industry partners, agree with that. So they explore themes of great relevance to you and to academia and actually to the industry at large. They work with rigor, they work with dedication, and they produce valuable research, which is a source of pride for the program and certainly for the college. So this year, the theme is the future of brands. And speaking of brands, it is with pleasure that I want to recognize and thank our Capstone sponsor this year, Shiseido Americas, and its CEO, Mark Ray, as well as Tomoko Yamagishi Dressler, who is the company's Senior Vice President for Marketing and Sales, both of whom join us tonight, so our thanks to you. And as intrinsic as branding may be to industry, it has also become a very vital part of higher education. You know, back in the day, you might never have thought of Harvard or Rutgers or FIT as a brand, in the same way that you might think of Shiseido or Chevrolet, for that matter. But today, higher education recognizes the important role of branding. And for the past 2 years, FIT has been engaged in an exciting initiative to define and to refine our brand. We learned, among many other things, that for branding purposes, one of the essential ingredients of the FIT DNA is our historic link to industry. And little illustrates that more than this pioneering graduate program, which has had such support from the beauty industry since its inception. And that leads me back to Shiseido. You know, this capstone is being live streamed on the FIT website to Shiseido's headquarters in Tokyo. And I want to acknowledge everyone there who may be watching here tonight. It is there that our students conduct their research in global field studies each spring, and I am so very grateful to Shiseido for their assistance and for their hospitality. So the achievements of this program continue to grow, particularly in the field of research, and I'm very pleased to tell you that this year the program received its first research grant, a generous grant of $30,000 from Sean Mehta, President and CEO of Luminiscere, which was used to fund the quantitative consumer research being presented here tonight. Mr. Mehta is a new member of the program's Industry Advisory Board, as is Brad Horowitz, CEO for Amore Pacific, and I welcome both of you as well. I'm also delighted to say that the chair of the advisory board, Jerry Vittoria, who is head of fine fragrances at Firmenich, was recently elected to the FIT Foundation Board. So, yes. So, you know, each and every year, this program is an increasing source of talent, ideas, and innovation for the beauty industry, and a great source of pride for the college. So, to the members of the class of 2017, I offer my congratulations, just as I offer special thanks and congratulations to that fellow who was up here a minute ago, Professor Stephen Canlian, the program's founding chair, who has devoted so many years to its progress, to the success of his students, and has really built a gem of a program. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you all for being here. And now we'll see some presentations.
And now it's my pleasure, on behalf of our gracious sponsors this evening, Shiseido Americas, to introduce Tomoko Yamagishi-Dressler, our Industry Advisory Board member, who will be making remarks on behalf of the sponsor this evening and also introducing a special video message from Mark Ray, CEO of Shiseido Americas. Tomoko?
Thank you, Stephen and Dr. Brown. Good evening, everyone. I am truly delighted to represent Shiseido Americas tonight, sponsor and longtime partner for the FIT's Master's Program in Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing and Management. In fact, over the past 10 years, I'm proud to say that Shiseido has 8 employees who's graduated from this wonderful program, sharing their newfound knowledge and insight with all of us at Shiseido Americas. And before I begin, however, I'd like to present a very special message to our graduates from Shiseido Americas President and CEO, Mark Ray.
Good evening. I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person tonight, but I do have a very legitimate reason. Which I hope you can, appreciate. My own son is graduating from high school today. So to all the parents in the audience, I congratulate you, and I can absolutely relate to your sense of pride and your sense of relief. And to the entire class of 2017, with a special recognition to Adil Yim of Shiseido, who was the research leader for our group, I say congratulations and well done. While one part of your journey is coming to an end, there's a new and very exciting chapter which is just beginning. With our marketplace and consumer changing at all speed, we are all counting on you to challenge the status quo, to bring fresh energy and insight to your work, to your organization, and to the overall beauty industry. We, at Shiseido, are very honored and proud to sponsor tonight's Capstone presentation for the first time. Shiseido's long-standing partnership with FIT and this very unique program fully supports our global organization commitment to people and talent development. In fact, the class of 2018 and 2019 will each have 3 Shiseido Americas employees from various divisions in the program, a true testament to our commitment for today and for the future. I know there's a very exciting evening ahead of you, full of insightful research and presentation, so I say, once again, congratulations and have a great night.
And I'm sure, like Mark said, all of the parents here this evening would agree that Mark has a very good excuse for not being here tonight. But he wanted me to also assure all the graduates, and especially Adele, that though he couldn't be here in person today, that he's very proud of what you have done in the past few years. And he looks forward to watching you and your classmates shine even more brightly as you continue to build your careers well beyond tonight's capstone ceremony. And as a parent, my children are my most important part of my life. And as a marketer, however, my brands are my everything. So when I walk into my office door, there's nothing more important to me than making sure that my brands are protected, nurtured, and most of all, assured a bright and promising future. And the future of the brands is, in fact, the future of our industry and a global economy, and yes, even our way of life. So no matter our industry, beauty or otherwise, the evolution of a consumer continues at a maddening pace. And no brand is safe from ever-turning tide of consumer tastes and expectations. In that digital world, trends are no longer for the masses, but for the individual. Brands can rise and fall on the whim and impulse. And as we are discovering in our own industry, that customization and personalization have redefined the meaning of luxury. So for all of us, the challenge lies in our ability to adapt, to know our consumers with the new depth of intimacy, and then to place agility on equal footing with quality as foremost of marketing priorities. So this is why I was so thrilled, maybe a little selfishly, when I was told of this year's research topic. And after all, I want my answers too. And I also want to know how my brands can compete in the marketplace that I could have barely imagined when I started my own career. And Shiseido may have been innovating beauty for the past 145 years, but that doesn't mean that the future of our brands is guaranteed. Like many of you, I eagerly await tonight's presentations. So for all these reasons, I am so excited to join you all in a program for thoughtful research, original insight, and uniquely relevant findings on the future of the brands. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Professor Killian. Thank you.
So this evening's topic is perhaps the most difficult one we have ever given to our students for Capstone. It is a topic that the faculty in the program and I have been wanting to do for about 5 years. We have been layering up to it, as you will remember last year's research on the future of innovation, the year prior, the work that we did with Boston Consulting Group, including independent consumer research in India, China, and the US on the future of luxury, which was published in the Wall Street Journal. We have been moving towards this topic slowly for about the last 3 or 4 years. And so in the fall, when I read about the rapid rate of retail closings and the unbelievable changes that were happening geopolitically all around the world, I felt that the moment was right to examine the future of our industry. After all, unlike other CPG industries, brands in beauty are sacred. We don't do brand portfolio pruning like they do for toothpaste and laundry detergents at Procter & Gamble. We treasure our brands. We build them for a lifetime. We believe in lifetime value of consumers. And so for us, brands are something very sacred. And yet, we know they are under attack from market forces coming from every direction, and a consumer that is constantly evolving before our eyes, often faster than any of our marketing teams can possibly react. And so it's within this cacophony of change that we approach tonight's topic, including original consumer research that the students have done using Google consumer surveys to build a data point for looking at the consumer, and especially and specifically tonight, the key driver of change, the millennial consumer, and how that will impact on the future of our brands. Before I bring out our first set of presenters, I just want to take a brief moment to say a few words about the class of 2017. This is an extraordinary group of future leaders in the industry, many of whom are already making sizable impacts in their companies. They are thoughtful, resourceful, incredibly positive in spirit, and no matter what the faculty threw at them over the last 2 years in terms of raising the dial and raising the bar on research outcomes, they were always ready to meet the challenge. They are also, and I'm very happy to say this about a group of millennials, an absolute delight. Having spent a month traveling with them in 6 countries in Europe and Asia, I can tell you that more than a dozen times over the last 6 months, I have threatened, and I hope Dr. Brown will close her ears when I say this, I have threatened to flunk them all and keep them for a 3rd year. They are quite simply the faculty's pride and joy, and I hope that you will enjoy what you will see tonight, because it's exemplary of the kind of work and the kind of leaders that the class of 2017 are. Thank you.
Today's consumer is enlightened, transitioning from a time of relying on brands for information to self-empowerment. They are more informed and vocal than ever, and have discovered the power of being connected, challenging the traditional tenets of brand building. Recognizing this, we set out to survey millennial consumers to better understand what they want from brands. Using Google's consumer survey tool, we developed the Millennial Consumer Expectation and Brand Perception Survey. Over 12 weeks, we fielded 10 surveys to consumers aged 18 to 34, with 250 to 500 respondents per survey, for a total of 4,000 responses, representing a nationwide sample of millennials.
Our hypothesis was simple. Brands are still relevant to consumers. However, that relationship has evolved. Brands used to tell consumers what they wanted, but today, the expectation is for brands to find out what the consumer needs, wants, and desires.
We utilized the Think with Google platform to ask about the most searched retail brands over the past 13 years. Okay, Google, what were the most popular retail brands in 2004?
Okay, Grace, here you go.
In 2004, Walmart was number 1, with Office Depot rounding out the top 10.
And by 2016, only 12 years later, the landscape has completely changed. 40% of the brands either no longer exist or are a shadow of their former selves.
Today, we live in the age of Amazon, a brand that has mastered leveraging all consumer needs. And to keep up, all brands need to understand what matters to their consumer and make good on it. In our consumer surveys, we found that 40% of millennials consider price the most important requirement when evaluating a brand. Quality matters. 42% of millennials use quality as the final lever of persuasion for first time as well as repeat purchase. Convenience is the third non-negotiable. However, convenience is no longer only location. Today, 37% want a brand to save them time, and that is the ultimate convenience and connection to their lifestyle. So while price, quality, and convenience are obligatory, they connect to the purely mechanical side of consumers, devoid of any emotional connection that a brand must have. Today, brands are failing to make that emotional impact.
The result is a deep estrangement between brands and consumers, what we have defined as the consumer gap. Millennials have zero expectations of brands. After countless interactions with the same brand, 42% of consumers still never expect a customized experience from that brand. When we asked, what would you give up if you had one less hour in the day? They answered, 33% would give up shopping in a store.
Can your brand afford to give up that much time?
Millennials feel they come second. Only 19% believe that brands value them over their profits. And on top of all of that, only 8% of consumers actually feel strongly that brands even listen to them.
But there's hope. Through our research, we've identified 3 key attributes that brands need to fill this gap and make an emotional impact: transparency, experience, and community. First, starting with transparency. 48% of millennials are more likely to buy from a brand if they know the people behind it. 47% want a brand to take ownership for its mistakes, and if not, there will be fallout. 45% will stop purchasing from that brand.
None of us can afford to lose any customers, let alone almost 50% of them. The second key attribute is experience. But experience goes beyond good customer service and unique in-store environments. Experience is dialogue. 47% of millennials want a brand to take their feedback into account. 29% want a brand to ask their opinion in order to create change. And 34% want a brand to address issues that are important to them.
And the final attribute is community. Loyalty is grounded in community. In fact, 44% of millennials show their loyalty to a brand by telling friends and family about it. Influence is also grounded in community. 40% of millennials look to their family and friends over anything else for a brand recommendation.
It's only through a combination of transparency, experience, and community that brands will connect with millennials and foster and fuel trust. The reason this is so important is explained by the propinquity effect, a psychological phenomenon which states the more frequently two people are in contact with one another, the more likely they are to enter into a relationship. This tells us that frequent connection yields trust. In the same way, brands need to connect through these multiple touch points to build a relationship with their consumer.
This triad of connection centered around transparency, experience, and community is what we have defined as the trust loop, an unbreakable bond that must exist between brands and consumers.
For brands to make an emotional impact, they must understand it's not about building a brand for the consumer. It's about building a brand with your consumer. Can your brand build a connection? Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
Today's world is highly volatile, and as a result, trust is in crisis. We've lost faith in our institutions with record low levels of trust in banks, media, and government. We're moving from a society based on trust of institutions to one based on trust of individuals. Not surprisingly, people overwhelmingly trust people like themselves. In fact, one tech insider states, as we get into cars with complete strangers and sleep in the beds of people we've never met, a powerful new currency is emerging, and it's based on trust. Control has shifted into the hands of the consumer, who now has the power to take down a brand in 140 characters or less. Today, buying power is greater than voting power. So what does this mean for the future of brands? We explored 3 key questions in our research to help answer this topic. What is the value of a brand? What is the new brand-to-consumer relationship? And what is the model for success in the future? A brand used to be a marker of quality, a means of differentiating one brand from the next. Today, according to an expert at Ogilvy, the way we think about the term brand will become incredibly more fluid. We devote more than 11 hours a day to screen time and growing. However, according to Fortune, adults now feel twice as lonely. Our hyperconnectivity has led to increased feelings of isolation. Consumers are more connected than ever, but are still looking for a sense of connection and belonging. Brands can fill this void. According to a study by McCann, 84% of people believe that brands can make the world a better place. Brands in the future must win the hearts, minds, and now, most importantly, the trust of their consumers. As a result of our research, we have developed a new paradigm that we are calling the brand humanization theory. Its 3 elements are brand actualization, personalization at scale, and inside-out organization. The goal is to ensure that a brand has a long-lasting, emotional, and meaningful connection with consumers while remaining true to its DNA.
The first element of brand humanization is brand actualization. Author Simon Sinek quotes, "People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it." So what is your why? The first recommendation of brand actualization focuses on purpose. Purpose is the reason a brand exists, not only materially and economically, but also emotionally. It's the brand's commitment to consumers, employees, and the larger community it serves. According to Harvard Business Review, 90% of executives understand the importance of purpose. Yet, only 46% use purpose in operational decision-making. It's easy for brands to lose focus on their purpose when profit and shareholder value dominate their corporate agenda. But according to an executive at Unilever, purpose-driven brands grow 30% faster than brands without a clear purpose. In 2014, CVS eliminated cigarettes from their stores. They quickly made up lost sales and have been enjoying a 13% compound annual growth rate since. Purpose-driven decision-making clearly had an impact on the bottom line. The second recommendation of brand actualization is the concept that small is the new big. Brands cannot be everything to everyone. Niche brands are winning across multiple categories. Small is the new big.
We've seen a dramatic shift in the top 10 beauty brands in the last 2 years in the United States. Indie brands now occupy 6 of the top 10 rankings. And over the last 6 years, $20 billion in market share value has shifted from big CPG companies to small companies in the United States alone. We see the same phenomenon happening with social influencers. As an influencer's follower count rises, the rate of engagement decreases. Those with less than 1,000 followers are 18 times more likely to receive engagement on their posts. Sweetgreen was founded by 3 friends in 2007 as a destination for seasonal healthy food. The brand's mission is to become a national fast food salad chain by maintaining an unwavering commitment to their original farm-to-table ethos. Proving that small is the new big, the brand plans to double in size in the next year. The last recommendation of brand actualization is to know your community. More consumers are turning to communities to fulfill a sense of belonging. Community is the single greatest force that draws and binds those who share similar values. Research shows that branded communities can drive 12 times more traffic and almost 8 times more shoppers than all other social channels combined. Reebok staged a comeback in the last 10 years by partnering with CrossFit to give it an authentic position in the fast-growing fitness chain's community. Reebok has since experienced 11 consecutive quarters of growth. To sum up the recommendations of brand actualization, first, your reason for being is your purpose. Next, think small, act big. And finally, the force behind your brand is community.
The second recommendation of brand humanization is personalization at scale. A quote by Kelly Mooney states, "We've gone from mass markets to market segments, to market niches, to micro niches, to markets of one." The first recommendation of personalization at scale is markets of one. Mass marketing has been the tradition for a long time. But there is no such thing as an average consumer, as we observed in Asia. China's working force is almost 800 million strong. Yet 81% of the working population makes less than $6,000 per year. This is a danger of marketing to averages. Brands must take a more personal approach to marketing or risk having a connection gap with consumers. A recent study found that 74% of online consumers get irritated with websites when irrelevant content is shown to them. Brands must find a way to connect with each individual they target. Netflix has adopted a personalized strategy by recommending content based on user preferences. And Spotify has mastered the art of music personalization. One of its most popular attributes is a customized playlist called Discover Weekly that is curated for each consumer based on the music that they listen to. The longer the consumer spends with the brand, the better it can predict their preferences.
The second recommendation of personalization at scale is to utilize consumer data to add value to their lives. Brands must shift from marketing to connecting with consumers. Instead of consumer audiences, consider individual customers. Reach is replaced with interaction. Media campaigns evolve to value exchanges. And we should no longer focus on targeting, but rather engaging consumers. Brands that personalize saw 19% uplift in sales. When it comes to collecting customer data, subtly help people do what they already want to do, and you will win their trust. The third recommendation of personalization at scale is the Internet of Me. Data exchange is meaningless if it doesn't in some way improve the consumer's day-to-day life. Brands in the future must evolve from the Internet of Things to the Internet of Me, keeping the consumer at the center of data exchange. Samsung is already imagining this personalized future with technology that instantly scans your health. Brands must create a new future, one where personalized consumer experience is at the center of it all. To summarize, our 3 recommendations to achieve personalization at scale are: Treat each consumer as a market of one. Use consumer data to add value to their lives. And put your consumer at the center with Internet of Me.
The third element of our brand humanization is inside-out organization. Aaron Levy, CEO of startup company Box, observes, if you don't go to every level of your company, you distance yourself from the marketplace and from your people. According to the 2017 Edelman Trust Barometer, 72% of consumers feel that treating employees well is the most important way for a company to build consumer trust. So our first recommendation is to emphasize ERM, or Employee Relationship Management. Brands make significant investments in CRM. Similar resources should be dedicated to ERM by engaging employees and treating them as internal customers. Tesla recognizes ERM as an essential part for their mission to change the world. Their ERM strategy includes offering quality of life benefits at no cost to employees. Through this, Tesla drives business results. Engaged teams reported 15% more profitability and a 30% increase in productivity. And Google, one of the best examples of well-established ERM practice, offers generous paid parental leave and flexibility for employees to pursue passion projects. It is no wonder 86% of Google employees report job satisfaction. Our second recommendation for inside-out organization is to cultivate a fluid workforce. The demographics of our workforce are changing. Millennials will be 40% of the workforce in 3 years, and we will see as many as 5 generations working side by side.
This has led to what General Stanley McChrystal refers to as an inversion of expertise, where leaders need to be open to being taught by the generations below. Millennial creative and tech genius Mark Zuckerberg partners with the operational expertise of Gen Xer Sheryl Sandberg, fostering a collaborative growth that has propelled Facebook to success. Our third recommendation of inside-out organization is to empower internal influencers. Brands engage in influencer marketing based on the desirability of their audiences, when they should be focused on influencer affinity with their brand. Influencers are not brand loyal, as evidenced by these recent posts of makeup artist and social influencer Manny Gutierrez. Our 2017 FIT Millennials Survey revealed that 48% of people are more likely to buy from a brand if they have an understanding of the people working behind it. And according to the Edelman Trust Barometer, employees are seen as the most credible spokespeople to communicate on behalf of the company. We pay influencers, on average, $200,000 per post, yet entry-level millennial salaries are on average $50,000 per year. Internal advocates are one of your most valuable untapped brand assets. By cultivating internal influencers, brands will create transparency and human-to-human connection with consumers, all while improving their influencer marketing ROI. MSNBC, for example, allows their millennial news associates to pitch and cover important stories on their social channels. And it's not only millennials. Anybody from interns to execs can contribute by emailing the social media team to pitch their story. To summarize, our 3 recommendations for inside-out organization are: emphasize employee relationship management, cultivate a fluid workforce, and empower internal influencers. Our brand humanization theory is designed for brands to navigate a volatile world, ensuring their existence in the future. With the 3 elements of brand actualization, personalization at scale, and inside-out organization, this paradigm urges brands to create a human connection with the consumer of the future.
we mentioned in the beginning that brands in the future will be much more fluid. The three elements of our brand humanization theory, distilled into their simplest form, insist on a brand purpose, focuses on people, and through this creates advocacy.
Successful brands in the future will need a symbiotic relationship between the brand and its community, enabling the brand to be agile, responsive, while keeping the DNA at its heart. This symbiotic relationship is a concept we're calling community fluidity. In a state of community fluidity, brands recognize that consumers can flow in and out of brand communities as they see fit.
So what does this mean? First, we don't own the brand. It's a shared experience created with the consumer. The collective experiences of your community are just as important as what your brand says about itself. So listen to them, engage them, and make them part of your brand.
Next, loyalty is not linear. Consumers aren't loyal to brands the way that they used to be. In fact, a recent study proves that brand relationships now fall into 14 different categories, ranging from best friends to acquaintances. Today, consumers are their own brand.
And finally, it's all about connection. According to the 2017 Brand Intimacy Report, top-ranked brands like Disney, Netflix, and Harley-Davidson have outperformed the S&P and Fortune 500 indices in revenue and profit over the last decade. These brands have won consumers' hearts through building strong emotional connections. What makes consumers choose your brand is how you make them feel.
So what does community fluidity really look like? Red Bull. Estimated $8.7 billion according to Forbes, with over 47 million followers on Facebook alone, and they sell just one product.
Whether it's creating an esports platform, sponsoring a space jump, or leading initiatives like the Red Bull Music Academy, this brand dedicates their time and their focus to energizing their community and celebrating the brand ethos. Red Bull gives you wings.
Tomorrow's brands will be so much more than product. Trust, connection, and community will be crucial to a brand's success in the future. Your brand community is not simply a collection of followers. These are your brand ambassadors, your co-stars, your co-creators. Brands tomorrow will thrive or fail based on the strength of their communities.
Brands will have the unique opportunity to fulfill consumers' desires to connect with something purposeful, meaningful, and larger than themselves. Tomorrow's brands will think beyond the sale and take a humanized approach to connecting with an ever-evolving consumer. To state it even more simply, humanize your brand, connect with your brand community, value trust above all, and embrace fluidity. Thank you.
The media has been sensationalizing the death of retail, but not without reason. This year alone, there have been 9 retail bankruptcies. 3,000 doors have closed, with a majority amongst mid-market price points. And 56,000 retail jobs have been lost. But ironically, consumer spending is up 3.8%. So if consumers are still spending, why is retail suffering? Here's what we know today. E-commerce is rapidly growing, up 15% in 2016. That's 5 times as fast as the total market. With $53 billion in annual sales, Amazon alone accounted for 66% of that growth. Consumers have adopted online shopping into their everyday lives, with close to half of Americans subscribing to Amazon Prime. In fact, 40% of those members claim they shop far less in physical stores. Another factor affecting US retail is the shift in consumer spending. consumers are now prioritizing experiences over traditional goods. For the first time ever in 2016, Americans spent more money in restaurants and bars than at grocery stores. But these consumer shifts aren't the only factors. The US is over-retailed. Since 1970, physical stores expanded at more than twice the rate of population growth. And today, the US has more retail space per capita than any other country in the world. Simply put, more stores exist today than will survive in the future. Through our research, we defined one overarching hypothesis. Consumers are evolving faster than retail brands. The result is an ever-growing divergence between what the consumer expects and what they're experiencing in store. We're calling this delta the consumer experience gap. In order to close the gap and better meet consumer needs, retail needs to evolve.
When thinking of evolution, who better to turn to than Charles Darwin, the father of evolutionary science? It's not the strongest of species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. Drawing upon Darwin's 5 components of natural selection, known as VISTA, we have uncovered opportunities to help retail brands evolve. The V stands for variation, or the natural differences that exist to help species evolve, such as eye color and height. Today, there is little to no variation in retail due to the ubiquity of national chains. The I stands for inheritance, or the passing of DNA to one's offspring. Retailers today are struggling to pass on their brand DNA in both their image and service to consumers. The S stands for selection. Darwin's theory is that survival is based upon successful traits, much like the lengthening of the giraffe's neck over time. However, many retailers today focus on traits such as price and promotion and fail to differentiate themselves. Finally, time and adaptation. The passing of advantageous traits over time to the next generation. Darwin's most famous example of this is the white moth that became extinct, while the black moth survived by adapting and blending into coal-covered trees. We believe retail brands have an opportunity to close the consumer experience gap by evolving to better meet consumer expectations. In the future of brand experience, only the most adaptable survive. Darwin's theory is clear. There are only 2 outcomes of natural selection: adaptation or extinction.
Using Darwin's VISTA model, we have outlined the 5 biggest opportunities for adaptation. The first is variation. Until today, retailers have grown with the mentality of, if you build it, they will come. However, in coming years, 10% of US retail space will need to be closed, converted, or renegotiated. This is equivalent to the size of San Francisco, or 1 billion square feet. But it's more than space. It's also the products and experience inside. According to consultants AlixPartners, traditional mid-market department stores have a 40% overlap of the same merchandise. While acquisitions have helped brands like Macy's gain market share and efficiencies, the mergers have limited their ability to differentiate their identity locally. Consumers want retailers to recognize their individual needs and offer unique products. However, retail brands are still operating as national chains. To address this opportunity, retail should be reimagined with relevant, localized spaces and differentiated product offerings. Staples is an example of a brand that has reimagined their brick-and-mortar space. By partnering with the office-sharing startup WorkBar, they have converted a portion of their stores into rentable co-working spaces, attracting new consumers and maximizing profit and productivity.
In
the future, how can multi-brand retailers reimagine and repurpose their existing space? Our first recommendation for multi-brand retailers is to convert a portion of their unproductive spaces into localized distribution centers. Brands and consumers would benefit from reduced shipping costs, better managed inventory, faster delivery times, and more seamless digital platforms. To optimize their supply chain, retailers might consider partnerships and acquisitions in digital, data, and fulfillment capabilities. Our second recommendation is for retailers to become landlords, leasing short-term spaces. Retailers would now be curators, selecting new, more relevant brands in retail, food, and entertainment to lease their space to. These brands would have the opportunity to showroom without significant investment or risk, giving retailers a reason to drive foot traffic back into store with the novelty of newness. Our last recommendation is to decentralize national chains back to their original role as community marketplaces. By focusing on locally inspired values, no two stores would look the same. Store designs and product assortments would be uniquely curated, giving each neighborhood store a richer, more defined purpose and encourage consumers to shop local. By applying Darwin's theory of variation, multi-brand retailers would create localized distribution centers, short-term spaces, and community marketplaces.
Darwin's second theory is inheritance. According to the 2017 Total Retail Report, having sales associates with deep knowledge is the #1 most important factor for the in-store shopping experience. This is proof that consumers are still valuing sales associates. When retailers value and invest in sales associates, it pays off. Cheesecake Factory is a brand that commits $2,000 annually per employee on training. As a result, the brand enjoys a return of $1,000 per square foot, almost double the industry average. It is more important than ever for retailers to invest in education and training in order to keep up with the ever-evolving consumer. Fortune magazine has observed millennial consumers are the enemies of stupid. This is no surprise, given that 61% of store managers today believe consumers are better connected to product information than their associates. Consumers are craving personalized service in store. However, retailers are not delivering unless and still focus on sales transactions alone. To capitalize on this opportunity, the role of the retail associate needs to evolve to become a knowledgeable brand ambassador who delivers outstanding personalized service. An example of best-in-class sales associates is Sephora. Daily training programs, career path planning, competitive benefits, and career seminars are offered at their 3 training sites around the world. It is no wonder that Sephora has one of the highest consumer satisfaction ratings in the industry.
In the future, how do we rebrand and empower retail associates to better serve consumers? Our first recommendation is to create apprenticeship programs. This would offer retail associates more than a job by inspiring them and providing them with tools upon which to build an aspirational career. The program would center around 4 key pillars: human behavior and interaction, technology, product expertise, and brand DNA. This education would ensure consistent service, less employee turnover, and greater employee and consumer satisfaction in store. Our second recommendation is to empower retail associates with the opportunity to focus on consumer experience. By automating non-consumer-facing tasks like stocking shelves, they would evolve into the role of a personal consultant. Further empowerment would come through access to a discretionary budget,
used to enhance the customer experience, similar to hospitality leader the Ritz-Carlton. Our final recommendation is to transform retail associates into micro-influencers. Working on the front line, every day there are portals of influence with consumers. Retailers should encourage them to curate product assortments tailored to their clients, discover and share trends, and build lasting personal relationships. With associates transformed into micro-influencers, building a consumer following is the new clienteling. By applying Darwin's theory of inheritance, retailers would create aspirational careers through apprenticeships, empower associates to become personal consultants, and enable consultants to become micro-influencers.
Darwin's third theory of Vista is selection. Retailers today are still prioritizing consumption over the consumer, and as a result are failing to differentiate themselves as strong brands. When looking at Forbes' most valuable brands of 2017, only 10% are multi-brand retailers, with Amazon being the only one to crack the top 20. Not one department store makes the list. Lauren Mead at Time Trade said, "Retailers are competing against every experience that consumer has. If the consumer is able to hail a cab on their smartphone with Uber and get that instantaneous experience, they translate that expectation to every other experience." Retail is not only competing with retail, it is competing with life. But in the competition of life, retailers are losing. In a global survey of 6,000 consumers, 1/3 said they'd rather wash dishes than visit a retail store. It's clear that retail has become a chore. We know consumers are craving experience in store. 57% of US consumers say they would like stores to serve a higher function than just selling product. Consumers' desire for social experiences is changing the way that they shop, while retailers still define shopping through product sales. To address this opportunity, retail experience must evolve to transcend transaction. Style Nanda, a popular retailer we observed in Korea, merges the experience of a hotel and the fun of fashion into one Instagrammable space. Featuring a hotel lobby, a spa, and curated themed rooms, the brand is mixing discovery, socialization, experience, and of course shopping seamlessly.
In the future, how can retailers compete on experience? Our first recommendation is that retailers must curate adjacent experiences that align with their brand DNA. For example, Nordstrom could tap into consumers' increased desire for travel, offering destination experiences in store, bringing Tokyo to Seattle for a limited 6 weeks only, immersing consumers in the fashions, tastes, and furnishings of another beauty capital, evolving Nordstrom into a must-see magnet of exploration. Our next recommendation is for retail brands to extend their footprint beyond traditional stores and cultivate new social spaces. A brand like Sephora might create social salons, a rentable full-service event space where consumers can rent private rooms to get ready for a night out with their friends, with, of course, full access to Sephora's products and beauty services, providing the opportunity to prioritize experience over the hard sell. Finally, brands with a strong identity should extend their footprint beyond traditional boundaries. We drew inspiration from Equinox gyms, with their announcement to open up Equinox hotels to holistically serve their consumers. We believe in the future, this will extend one step further. A brand like Whole Foods might become Whole Life, where like-minded individuals would live and have access to urban farms, vertical gardens, yoga studios, and communal kitchens. The Whole Foods brand experience would now be at one with consumers' lives. By applying Darwin's theory of selection, retail brands can curate adjacent experiences, create social spaces, and extend their footprint beyond traditional boundaries. Darwin's final two theories are time and adaptation. According to Brian Solos, business is a victim of digital Darwinism, the evolution of consumer behavior when society and technology evolve faster than the ability to exploit it. Previously, evolution was thought to be a slow process, one that could not be observed in a single lifetime, but it seems Darwin's theories too have evolved. This rapid evolution of consumer behavior is a direct result of time, or rather the lack of it. Time is the strongest trait to emerge as the ultimate desire for consumers. As proof of this, 99% of people say they want more time in their personal and professional lives. This perhaps makes time, and the ability to adapt to it, the biggest opportunity of all. In the future, retail brands must address this hunger for time as the absolute opportunity to succeed.
So how can retailer brands maximize the consumer's valuable time? First, retail brands need to stop treating consumers as consumers. 78% of millennials say that they're willing to spend more money on experiences rather than a physical purchase. This movement, from traditional consumption to the prioritization of experience, will inevitably change the way that we as brands must define consumers. In the future, consumers will evolve into seekers. The seekers of the future will want to spend their time pursuing discovery, harnessing happiness, and creating togetherness, which means that retail brands must find new ways to interact with seekers in their daily lives. By knowing how the seekers of the future will want to spend their time, brands must adapt to not only meet consumer expectations, but also to anticipate them. And in the future, anticipating consumer expectations will be the ultimate marker of success and survival. To summarize, Darwin's Vista model teaches us that it is possible for retail brands to evolve in the future. First, brands must create variation by reimagining their retail spaces to be more relevant and localized with differentiated product offerings. Inheritance. Brands must elevate the role of the retail associate to become an aspirational brand ambassador who delivers both outstanding and personalized service. Select experiences that better deliver on consumer needs and transcend transaction. And finally, anticipate and adapt to how consumers in the future will want to spend their time. So in the future, retail brands must decide which outcome of natural selection they will choose, adaptation or extinction. Thank you.
Darwin and retail. Who says that the liberal arts aren't alive and well in higher education? Now I think you can understand the amount of pride that the faculty has in the class of 2017. And now I'd like to welcome to the stage our Capstone research leaders, Crystal Tsai of the Estee Lauder Companies, Nicholas Vissot of L'Oreal, Morgan Hagney of L'Oreal, Pragati Ria of Unilever, and our special guest this evening, our moderator for our Q&A session, and there are microphones at the front of the aisles, Elizabeth Segran, a reporter with Fast Company and the editor of a very, very influential retail, fashion, and beauty newsletter called Moving the Needle. Elizabeth, we're delighted to welcome you to FIT.
Thank you so much. And I loved the presentation. I thought it was so comprehensive, so well researched, so innovative. I think Darwin was never expecting his theory to be applied in this way, but I think another round of applause is due. So I have a couple of questions about the future of brands, as you talked about. You mentioned at the beginning that Americans have lost faith in institutions. We live in the age of Trump. We live in the age of fake news. A lot of people have lost faith in newspapers. So how does a brand now communicate with the public when they're so skeptical of everything that they're hearing? I mean, how do you make a promise to a consumer in this climate?
It's a really fascinating question that I think came up in a lot of different ways in our research. And I think the short answer to it is brands have to find a way to humanize themselves, and they have to find a way to very easily get consumers to trust them. I think one of the biggest points that we found is really the impact of social media on the news, and particularly on the lives of consumers, because today, a tweet at 4 p.m. could be this evening's news, and literally anyone and everyone is a newsmaker. So I think one of the things that we found was, for the large brands that are out there, I think in particular, we have a bit of an issue in that we create a bit of distance between ourselves and our consumers by the sheer nature of the largeness of the organizations themselves. So anything that can be done to really help remove that mask and help to humanize the people that are working for brands and bring them closer to the end consumer that are actually using and buying the products is going to do a great deal in really closing that trust gap and really easing some of the uncertainty of the consumers.
Well, that's an interesting point because, as you mentioned in the presentation, indie brands are in a lot of ways surpassing big brands. And all of you work for the big guys, not the little guys. So that raises a predicament, right? Yeah. So how does a big brand operate with the nimbleness and the fluidity of these smaller brands? What are you supposed to do?
I think, really according to what Nick said, the whole presentation of humanizing your brand, I think, is really our recommendation for large brands. I mean, we know that it's happening in beauty with all of these indie brands really leveraging, social media and leveraging community. And Robin Lewis, in one of his articles, talked about the fact that big corporations are going to have to learn how to create these niche experiences across their large organizations. And it's not just happening in beauty; it's happening in the beverage industry, where you see craft beers, sort of taking over. It's happening in the food industry, where organic is really rising to the top. I mean, people are paying $200 and $300 for niche and artisanal fragrances versus, designer fragrances. And so I think that what brands are going to have to do, as Nick said, is take that mask off. And it's why we're proposing this idea of putting your people in the forefront, because that's what's going to connect people to brands. People want to see people. It's why influencer marketing has taken off. It's why people love reality television. We, have lost trust in sort of these big nebulous organizations and really want to have human-to-human connection. And I think humanizing your brand, giving up a little bit of the control and letting the people that work for your brands kind of be pushed into the forefront can help make that connection.
Mm-hmm. And then thinking a little bit about some of the questions that were raised in the retail presentation, so I'm a fashion and retail reporter, so I think I'm also contributing to the sensationalization of the retail apocalypse that we're constantly tracking. But it's interesting, in the presentation you were focusing a lot on department stores and how they can evolve and the problems that they've been facing. When you were doing this research, what were you thinking about other channels? I mean, are they facing the same sorts of problems?
Yeah, I mean, we did focus on the department stores, and as you say, it's been such a focus of the media. Mm-hmm. I think we felt like it was something we had to address, sort of head on. The crux of our presentation is very much focused on the consumer, and I think that reality that the consumer is living in goes across every single channel that she shops in, and we know that she shops all the different channels. She's not just a department store consumer. So with that in mind, essentially what we've been discussing is that every channel has to figure out what exactly is their role, what exactly is their purpose for the consumer, and craft every single thing about that channel to answer that need. So for example, drug could easily transform into something which is closer to sort of a health personal trainer for that consumer.
providing everything from sort of supplement advice all the way through to actually prescriptions as well. Mass might be completely about convenience, and where does that then fit in this model? And we're already seeing the advent of that with Walmart's acquisition of Jet. So I think that's very telling of the future.
And I really liked the kinds of examples that you were giving of the brands that are evolving or at least are experimenting with models. You presented Style Nanda, this Korean experiment with changing things up. I think the audience would probably love to hear about other cool examples of brands that are just trying new things and just kind of seeing what sticks.
I mean, there are so many to choose from. It was really hard to narrow down to a few. If you look at categories outside of beauty, athleisure and athletics is actually one that we looked at a lot. They're really focusing on experience for the consumer, not only in their communities, but now in their stores. So Nike in Soho, if anybody hasn't been, please go see their new concept store. It's part store, part museum, part test trial. They've created test trial areas for soccer, for running, and for basketball, and it was really created for the New York consumer in mind. But it really is all about giving that consumer the experience, having them try on all of the products. It's not necessarily just selling them at the end of the day.
Yeah. But I think the most captivating concept here was this idea of evolution and how we're currently in this moment where we can sort of see what might happen in the future. We're not exactly sure what that's going to be like, but I thought maybe we could do a little thought experiment. So why don't we take ourselves forward 100 years, and in 100 years' time, there's a consumer, much like myself. She's 34 years old. She has a 1.5-year-old child. She's like a reporter if newspapers still exist, 100 years from now. So I'm getting up in the morning, and I, need makeup. I need products. How am I gonna shop for it?
Well, I mean, I think 100 years is crazy to think about. I mean, even when we were doing this presentation and our research, even 20 years, it was really hard to see where the future was going to evolve to, because everything is happening so fast. One thing we know for sure is that no matter where you are in your life, no matter what your technology is that you're using, it's really all about giving you what you want, where you want it, and how you want it. And I don't know if you want to give a little bit more insight.
Yeah. Well, actually, when we were doing this presentation, we actually started out by creating some 10-year predictions, which we thought, even at that point, felt a little sci-fi, so we sort of brought them back to something a little more tangible. 10 years isn't that far. But we've been discussing so many different things about, when you're getting ready in the morning and you've decided, okay, this is my schedule today, this is, everything that I have going on. Why wouldn't you have a machine or some kind of technology in your bathroom that actually sort of analyzes everything that's going on in the world around you and formulating a product right there for you in that moment? I mean, Samsung's already doing this with their fridges. This isn't future technology, but you can sort of see how everything is going to be personalized so much to the extent that for low engagement goods, things just happen.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really cool if I went to my mirror and I was like, need a mascara,
Right.
and then it was there. I know.
If it was, sunny outside and, you could actually customize your foundation to have the right SPF level for that day outside. I mean, that's kind of where the future is headed.
I like it. I think you guys need to start working on that. And so 100 years from now, I'd also like to think about brands. So, you work with MAC and L'Oreal. So 100 years from now, how am I going to relate to, if I need some like hip, cool new makeup, and I want to get it from MAC, what is my relationship with MAC? Or if I want some Kiehl's products, like in the future, what do you imagine my relationship with these brands is going to be like?
Yeah, so I think from the brand side, I think it's interesting because I think one of the biggest inefficiencies in the market right now is the time between when a customer actually wants something and when they actually receive it. So I think in the future, whether that be 10 years from now or 100 years from now, the Elizabeth in the future is as soon as you want something, you're going to have it, whether that be through 3D printing at home or fast delivery. I think one of the things that we found that was so interesting when we were in China was all these delivery services where if you would order something online, you could have it delivered actually within 3 hours. And so I think the brands in the future that are addressing needs and creating experiences and interacting with consumers are going to be the ones that are able to best anticipate consumer needs and deliver to them before they even know that they need it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's going to be really about this seamless integration between the brand and the consumer and removing any sort of friction. And so I think in that example, in our creative class with Mark Polson, one group did this whole Amazon look mirror where you would, go up to the mirror and, like you were saying, say that you wanted a product. I think that it would be so seamlessly integrated that it would say, hey, you're running low on this moisturizer. Do you want to go ahead and reorder at this press of this button? Or do you want to try this new moisturizer that 30% of people or 30 people in your network of friends recommend? And I think it'll be that seamless. I think it'll be that anticipatory. And I think that it will be about giving the consumer back time to do the things he and she really wants to do. And I think that the brands that really are able to do that for her and him are the ones that are going to be very close to them.
I mean, I wonder if it'll even be, if we'll eventually get to the point where I won't even need to respond to that. Like, it'll just predict it, and I won't even have to ask the question.
Right.
Like, here you go. It's kind of scary.
Here's your product.
Anyway.
And it'll be delivered by a drone. And,
fantastic. Or my personal robot. Who knows? Well, I'd like to open it up to some to audience questions. So I think we have some mics here if you'd like to come up and ask a couple of questions. There's a mic up here if you want to.
I've never needed a mic in my life. What do you see the role of AI in the development of brands and beauty for individuals?
I think that's a really great question. And I mentioned this brand intimacy report and all of these sort of top-ranked brands like BMW, Disney, Netflix. And it's really interesting because one of the things that they talk about in the report is the investment in artificial intelligence as well as augmented reality. I think that these platforms are going to give brands the ability to provide experiences for the consumer. I think that when we were interviewing the Future Hunters, he talked about, the Google Cardboard goggles that really allowed people to experience what was happening or see what was happening in Syria. And it really immediately transported people there and they could understand the experience from a whole different level. And I know that's a very extreme example, but I think that that is going to be the opportunity for brands in the future. You will be able to immerse the consumer in the experience of your brand, much like we experienced when we went to Korea. You walked into those stores and you experienced those brands. Well, if the consumer doesn't want to go to the store, I think AI will provide brands with a platform to create that experience in home.
Yeah, please go ahead. Oh, so I think the question was, in the future, what is the role of sustainability and plant-based ingredients in your industry?
Yeah, I think I can maybe start with, I think one of the things that we found in our research, and it's a really great question. I think, again, based on the political climate, and I think what's been going on recently as well with the Paris Climate Accord, is in the majority of consumers in our research, we found believe that brands have the ability to make the world a better place. So I think consumers, again, when they're not necessarily expressing trust in government, are looking to brands to take a stand and be the ones that are building a future that's in respect and protection of the environment. So I think we saw a lot of brands almost find a place to take a stand in the past few weeks and past few months. So I think based on that, and I think based on that research, we really see brands embracing this idea of really charting the path for what the future is for the environment and for Earth.
One of the concepts that we had found in our research, this was done by the Future Hunters, is they talked about this idea of going blue. Right now we're going green, which is reducing our footprint. But in the future, can we go blue where we're actually giving back to the environment, not necessarily taking away from it? So as we think about companies in the future, it's not necessarily what you can do to limit, but it's actually how you can give it back.
Yeah, and
Something to consider.
Agreed. And I think that even from the perspective of the consumer, it will become a consumer expectation. Millennials, we actually had a piece of our research about CSR efforts and people's commitment back to the environment, or, on issues that matter to the consumer. Like a good 80% of millennials, want to support brands that are doing better things for the environment and that are aligning with the issues and the responsibilities, that they think are important. And I think that in the future, brands will have to continue to make that promise and that commitment, not just for the sake of gaining the consumer, because you have to be honest and authentic about your commitment to the environment, but I think it's going to be a must going forward.
One more question?
It's kind of a strange question as a millennial for me to ask, but with such a high focus on millennials, how do you stay loyal to customers that have been loyal to you for so many years, and how do you connect with them as well?
I can, I know I've been talking a lot up here, but one of the things that we talked about, this whole idea of a fluid workforce. So we know everybody hears about millennials constantly. We constantly talk about millennials. We're starting to talk about Gen Z, but we put in our presentation that you should really empower a fluid workforce, and you should really consider the expertise of all generations within your organization, because I think that's the only way that you don't end up with a sort of one-sided or really focused sort of strategy. I think it's really going to depend on the people that are working in your organization to be able to reach all levels or all generations of people outside of your organization.
But I also think segmentation is going to be critical as we think about, smaller brands, indie brands becoming more focused, having more of that authentic voice. It's really going to be about these bigger brands really forcing themselves not only to talk to the millennials, but also having a specific message for that Gen X consumer, for that millennial consumer, for that Gen Y consumer. If we're going to be big brands, it's not necessarily one size fits all for anyone anymore, and so it's really going to put the onus back on the brands to say, how do we continue speaking to different people?
And just to build on that point as well, I think having this absolute clarity on exactly who you are as a brand, whether that be a retailer brand or even like a sort of a manufacturer, producer brand, is so critical. Because without having that clarity about who you are and who you're serving, you're never going to be able to serve her fully.
Yeah.
So whether that means from the touch points that you actually create in store, if you're serving an older consumer, do you have more spaces where she can actually put her bags down while she's searching around? It seems like a very small tactical thing, but it does make the difference in putting her at the center of the experience that you're trying to give her.
Please join me in thanking Elizabeth Segran of Fast Company. And of course, our Capstone research leaders. And an unplanned moment, while the house lights are up and the class of 2017 enters back into the room, I'd like to ask all of our alumni who are in the audience to please stand. Especially that section over there, I know where you are. And guys, let me be the first to welcome you into the alumni. And now we move on to the awards portion of our ceremony, and it's my great pleasure to introduce our incredibly supportive cheerleader in the School of Graduate Studies, our Dean, Dr. Mary Davis.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you all for being here this evening, and thank you especially to Elizabeth and all of the students who gave presentations this evening. This was such a rich and illuminating discussion tonight. It's really kind of mind-boggling. So I just want to say a couple of words about how the School of Graduate Studies here at FIT fits into this picture of the current complex and changing environment, not just for beauty, but also for brands and retail. We in the School of Graduate Studies are really proud and excited to help lead this dialogue, so just as you've heard, about the future. We're committed to doing the research that will guide these efforts. Research, as I believe you all know, is central to our mission at FIT, and it's especially crucial to the work that we're undertaking at the level of graduate education. Students and faculty in our Cosmetics and Fragrances department have provided great leadership on this front, and just this year took another step forward in increasing our presence and visibility in research endeavors. As a team of these students participated in the State University of New York Graduate Research Poster Symposium, which was held in Saratoga Springs this past March. This event is open competitively to students from across the 64 schools in the SUNY system. And it's a showcase for research in all fields, including engineering, material sciences, medicine. We were extremely proud to have our own Nick Vissot present the project Sequence, Bespoke DNA Fragrance, which he and a team of students developed in Dr. Brooke Carlson's Advanced Topics in Marketing course. This was a perfect example of research that can feed innovation involving students, faculty, and industry. It's a model for what we aim to accomplish, not to mention a pathway for making the wider world more aware of the distinctive, creative, intellectual, and scientific inquiries we pursue here at FIT. In fact, CMMM's research agenda is at the cutting edge of what we at FIT do every day, and it stands as one of the most ambitious undertakings on our campus. It's been a catalyst for new initiatives in the School of Graduate Studies, which in turn have led to some major school-wide projects. Perhaps most important among these, and one I definitely want to mention tonight, is the renovation of the main classroom and laboratory space used by the graduate school, which is located on the 6th floor of the Goodman Building, just above the museum. Improved classrooms on that floor, complete with state-of-the-art technology, ideation space, and breakout rooms, not to mention a graduate student commons and a huddle room for informal interactions, meals, and many, many, many cups of strong coffee, have been inspiring to all and would not have been possible without the support of President Brown, Vice President Jack Oliva, and others in the leadership here at FIT. On the subject of leadership, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the many contributions that Professors Canlian and Carlson have made and continued to make in the School of Graduate Studies and in the college as FIT moves forward with its strategic plan. Beyond their own department, their service is extraordinary. To cite but two examples of their heavy lifting, Professor Canlian serves as vice president for our union, while Professor Carlson co-chaired the college leadership team responsible for the most important accreditation documentation required by the college. Finally, I want to recognize the exceptional efforts and contributions of the CFMM department manager, Doreen Kaplan, who attends, yes, go Doreen. Day in and day out, she's on top of the small details as well as the large vision, and she takes care of everything in between as well. Even better, she's a distinguished alum of the CFMM department, which creates the perfect segue to the next segment of tonight's program, our award ceremony. So with that, I'd like to invite Mark Nitowski, Senior Vice President for Fragrance and Product Innovation at Victoria's Secret Limited Brands, to come to the podium for the presentation of our first award, the Limited Brands Student Leadership Award.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. On behalf of everyone at L Brands, we want to congratulate the class of 2017. Amazing presentations, very well done. So this award is sponsored by Victoria's Secret Beauty and Bath & Body Works jointly. The L Brand Student Leadership Award is accompanied by an annual gift of $10,000 to the FIT Master's Program to support the annual team building workshop and professional development workshops that support the growth of the leadership skills among the students. This is the 16th year, I remember when it was in the little room way back when in 2002, that the L Brands has been presenting this award. In short, the graduating students are asked to select a peer whom they see as succeeding to higher levels of leadership in the industry or in someone whom they would want to work with in the future. It is a special pleasure to present this award and for the limited brands to participate in the Capstone each June. As a company, we are very committed to the FIT Master's Program because of the talent it produces for the beauty industry, the commitment to beauty by its faculty, the quality of the curriculum, and the unique learning platform it creates. I'm excited to be a member of the Industry Advisory Board and know that this award represents the best of the best among a very talented group of young people. I would like to read you some of the nominating comments from peers in the class of 2017 to give you a sense of this year's awards recipient. A visionary, someone who is a model of leadership in today's noisy world and always ready to offer credit when credit is due. As a leader, this student creates a team atmosphere, always displays respect for each member of the class, and at the same time is not afraid to voice a differing opinion. This student is the brains of a work group and makes everyone feel special and appreciated. This student always, this is my favorite one. This student always finds the bright side of any issue and remains the beacon of positivity in the face of challenges and failures. This student inspires faith, hope, and collaboration and is a great pleasure to work with. It is my pleasure to award this year's 2017 L Brand Student Leadership Award to Crystal C. Congratulations, Chris.
Crystal also holds the dubious honor of being the School of Graduate Studies' first double degree recipient, holding the Master's in Professional Studies in Global Fashion Management and Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing and Management. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome my beloved colleague, Dr. Brooke Carlson, and our Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Jack Oliva, to give this evening's scholarship awards. Jack, Brooke.
Thank you, Stephen. Just a few comments. Each time we bring in a new class for this program, I have the honor to have some words with them, welcoming them to FIT and to the program. And it's through Stephen's diligent getting on my calendar, probably about now, to make sure that every fall I'm there to do that. And one of the things we talk about is you look across the room and you see some 25 plus eager students coming, all of whom are coming from already starting careers of their choice, with experiences, with questions, with an eagerness to learn. And the focus of that conversation is about going from that point of 25 or so individuals
through a series of experiences, both here and abroad, classes, over a period of time to which they begin to form bonds, to contribute to each other, and in some ways become part of the teaching that goes on in this program from its beginning to this evening when you hear these wonderful presentations. And so it's always very gratifying to me coming to this event each year, to see that progress and to see how individuals come in separate and apart from each other and end up with not only examples, high examples of excellent teamwork and studies, but how they rally around this whole theme that they create, so you go from 25 really to 1 when it's all done. So I want to congratulate all of you for the work you've done, but also to the contributions you have made to FIT and to this program, not only in terms of your work, but in terms of the steps you are enabling us to continue to take towards a very important part of FIT's mission in the arena of research. And so thank you for the opportunity to assist with the presentation of these awards.
Thank you, Jack. Lovely. So to the class of 2017 and newly minted alums, and on behalf of the entire FIT team, including our dedicated and amazing adjunct faculty who are with us tonight, we finally get to say congratulations to the 2017 graduates. And, really, thank you so much for your excellent capstone research tonight, your academic accomplishments achieved, all while working full-time in your highly demanding positions. No, it wasn't easy. On a personal note, I admire and deeply respect all of you for your tenacity and grace under pressure, for your many academic, leadership, and career milestones over the past 2 years. I'm counting on you to impart positive change in our industry through continued research, innovation, creativity, and authentic leadership. Now, onto the awards. We have 2 categories of scholarship awards: scholarship recognition and outstanding scholar, that recognize superior academic performance during the last 2 years. Let's start with this year's scholarship recognition award recipients. When I call your names, please come up to the stage to receive your award. Once everyone's on stage, we'll take a group photo. So we're pleased to announce the following 4 scholarship recognition award recipients. And the first is Erin Cox Elder. Erin is Executive Director of Media for Fragrance and Beauté at Chanel. Stacy Goldstein. Director of Marketing, Garnier Skincare, L'Oreal USA. Morgan Hagney. Senior Marketing Manager, L'Oreal Paris Cosmetics. And Katerina Kral-Madiarachka, I probably butchered that, Director of Digital Customer Retention at the Estee Lauder Companies. Please. Come on, Katerina. Okay. Great. Yes. Let me be.
We didn't practice.
Thank you. Congratulations. Now on to the Outstanding Scholar Awards. This recognition acknowledges academic excellence, including but going beyond individual achievement, to include exceptional thought leadership and contributions to classroom learning outcomes. Diverse in thought, personalities, and style, this year's 2 outstanding scholars could not be more different from one another. To keep the suspense going until the very end, I'm going to say something brief about both and then reveal their names at the end, at which time you'll come up. So the first recipient is even-keeled, Whip Smart takes just the right amount of time to reflect before making a recommendation or devising a course of action. Highly deliberate and focused on reaching academic and classroom project goals. Able to motivate in-depth discussion, we could count on this person to always find an acceptable solution for all. Quite the adept negotiator, too. He, hint, hint, never failed to deliver while always staying true to self. So that's outstanding scholar number one. Our second outstanding scholar is at the top of the academic performance ladder with a tireless and unfailing work ethic. This awardee has always been highly engaged and committed in all areas of the program. Deeply reflective, always well prepared to add insightful comments during class and team discussions. She is unassuming, grounded, open-minded, always graceful and composed, and off the charts intelligent. So if you haven't guessed, maybe it sounds like a lot of them, but in fact, it's two. The first is Nicholas Vassat. Marketing Director for Hair Color category at the Matrix Division of L'Oreal, and Pragati Ruya, Senior Global Development Manager, leading the CSR agenda for the Vaseline brand for Unilever. Come on down. So congratulations again to all the scholarship award winners and to everyone in the class of 2017. And now please join me in welcoming our next award presenters, Jessica Abrams and Simone Bulletin.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Abrams, the chairperson of the Executive Board of the Alumni Association. It is my sincere pleasure to congratulate the class of 2017 on completing their capstone projects and officially welcome them as program alumni. The mission of the Alumni Association is to provide ongoing education programs that recreate the unique learning environments and opportunities for interaction with industry leaders that alumni experience while attending FIT. Each of our events is followed by networking for attendees, thereby continuing to strengthen their peer relationships. The Alumni Board-sponsored events range from fireside chats with CEOs to a class on how to practically apply the principles of mindfulness in the workplace. As we begin planning our fall calendar, we will be reaching out to you for your input and ideas on how we can make the alumni experience a truly rich and engaging one. And now, on to our award. We are truly grateful to Cody, our ongoing sponsor of the program's annual Alumni Award. The individual is selected by the Executive Board of the Alumni Association using the following criteria: an industry leader as illustrated by his or her professional achievements, industry involvement, and future industry potential. A mentor within their teams, organizations, and through supporting students and alumni developing impactful relationships and careers. An advocate as a voice and a presence for the FIT alumni community as well as current students. Now I am pleased to introduce Simone Bulletin, Senior Director of U.S. Public Relations and Influencer Marketing, Luxury at Cody, to present tonight's Cody Award for Professional Excellence.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm proud to be representing Cody here tonight, and as a graduate of the class of 2014, it's a true honor to congratulate the class of 2017 on this significant accomplishment. The sense of accomplishment you're feeling right now will be something that you will remember with pride for the rest of your lives, and the knowledge you have gained and friendships you have made during the past 2 years will continue to be constant sources of inspiration as you move forward in your personal and professional development. Tonight, your names will be added to the long list of illustrious alumni that have come before you, a group that boasts some of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators in the beauty industry and beyond. The 2017 recipient of the Coady Award for Professional Excellence is among the best and the brightest of this prestigious group. Since graduating from the program only 4 years ago, Lisa Sequino, class of 2013, has gone on to become the Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Estee Lauder and Erin brands for the Estee Lauder Companies, Inc. North America. She's the first recent graduate to achieve this rank. Since joining the Estee Lauder Companies in 2013, Ms. Sequino has held executive marketing and leadership roles on multiple brands, including Tom Ford Beauty, Michael Kors, Tory Burch, and Marni. In her previous role as Corporate Vice President, Key Account Management, Specialty Multi North America, she worked closely with the company's brands, functions, and retail partners on initiatives, programs, and product offerings that capitalize on untapped growth opportunities unique to Specialty Multi, and she identified significant incremental retail sales opportunities. Prior to joining the Estee Lauder Companies, Inc., Ms. Sequino worked at Procter & Gamble, where she held several executive roles in healthcare, beauty, and pharmaceuticals across the marketing, business development, and M&A functions. Ms. Sequino has also given back to the program in a significant way by serving as a very successful executive mentor to several students in recent graduating classes. To honor Ms. Sequino's accomplishments, Coady will donate $10,000 to the alumni organization on her behalf to support ongoing alumni programming that supports the professional development of all of the program's graduates. Please join me in congratulating Lisa Sequino on this prestigious award.
Thank you, Simone, and good evening, everyone. I'm deeply honored to accept this award. I would like to thank the Alumni Association, the selection committee, as well as Professor Cantlian, Dr. Brooke Carlson, and the entire FIT faculty for their support. When I enrolled in FIT, in the Master's Professional Program in 2011, I had great hopes of learning more about the beauty industry. What I quickly realized is that this program was a game changer. It was a game changer for my professional development and my personal development. In 2 short years, I gained the unique experiences that would accelerate my career at Estee Lauder Companies. Let me give you a few highlights. I built a broad network, so I was able to form meaningful relationships with other executives in other corporations, exposing me to new ways to do business and problem solve. I still call those executives today and call them about industry issues or even talent. I gained a new skill set. So the beauty of this program is that it really builds you professionally. You don't just learn about a brand, you build your own. You don't work on a project, you work on a presentation and you pitch it to executives with the financials to back it up, thanks to Dr. Brooks Carlson. The curriculum ensures that each student is prepared not only with the knowledge, but the professionalism to be an ace performer in the workplace. I had supporters. So through the Executive Mentor Program, I was exposed to CEO-level executives that I would never have exposure to otherwise. My mentor was Alana Drell-Zeifer. That changed the way that I looked at my career and gave me the courage and ammunition to take risks I would have never taken without that support. So thank you, Alana. As a direct result of my studies at FIT, I was selected for amazing leadership opportunities that you heard of, from Tom Ford Beauty to now the honor of leading Estee Lauder North America under FIT's one of their biggest supporters and one of the industry greatest, Jane Hertz-Marcudis. Thank you, Jane. And tonight's presentations reflect many things that I learned through FIT. Always adapt your brand strategy, always have a plan B, and always adapt your strategy, learn, evolve, and meet the future head on, because if you don't do it, someone else will. Class of 2017, you should be very proud and honored of your accomplishments. As you move on, I want to give you 2 pieces of advice. The first comes from my parents. Work hard and Treat everyone that you interface with respect. It's a small piece of advice, but it goes a long way. And secondly, this piece of advice I learned directly from my boss, mentor, and friend, Thea Breen, who is the group president of Estee Lauder North America and one of the best people I've ever worked for. You are the manager of your own career. Dream big, be fearless, lead by example, and always support those that work for you. Great people follow great leaders. Wherever you go and whatever you do, I want you to remember that. Thank you very much for this prestigious honor. I wish you all the best of luck.
Before I bring up our next presenter, I just want to direct your attention to the special thanks page in the back of the program. It not only takes a village to run a program with 30 corporate partners and this sort of complexity, but it also takes a village to put on this event. And so I want to thank especially our faculty evaluators, Mary Manning, Brooke Carlson, Jess Abrams, and I want to thank the extraordinary team led by James Pierce, who reminded me tonight that this is his 10th year supporting Capstone. Diane Tees, our stage manager, and all of the great people that help us put this together at the college. I want to thank the Academic Affairs Department for their support, the School of Graduate Studies, none of which all of this could take place. So thank you so much, and please check out all of the rest of the thank yous in the back of the program. Now, the Estee Lauder Company's Faculty Leadership Award. So there are college supporters and there are college supporters. One of these days, I'm going to go to my mailbox, or probably Dr. Brown will, and there will be an invoice from Fabrizio Freda for all of Jane's time. Jane Hudis is an enormous cheerleader for the Fashion Institute of Technology, and she's an enormous cheerleader for this program. And we're very honored to have her here tonight to present the Estee Lauder Company's Faculty Leadership Award to an outstanding member of our adjunct faculty. Jane?
Firstly, on behalf of the Estee Lauder Company's colleagues, we're out in full force tonight. I want to say congratulations to Lisa, whom I will never follow again, and Crystal, and to all of the graduates of 2017. You are amazing, and we are so proud of you. So, a big round of applause. And you should know that Leonard Lauder himself was part of the founding of this program, so we've been kind of knee-deep ever since. The Estee Lauder Company's Faculty Leadership Award was first given in 2006, and it was given by Mrs. Evelyn Lauder, and the FIT Capstone that year was sponsored by our company. The award has been given continuously ever since to honor a member of the adjunct faculty of the graduate program. And in honor of the program's 10th anniversary, the annual gift by the Estee Lauder Companies was raised to $10,000, and it has been that amount ever since. Having served as an executive mentor, a member of the Industry Advisory Board, I've been an FIT Foundation Board member for, I don't know, almost 2 decades, I think, and a guest speaker. I've really had the pleasure of meeting and working with many of the FIT master's programs graduates, working throughout our company and, in fact, in other companies as well. And what's so exciting is they and you will fill many of the leadership roles both in our company and throughout our industry. In our company, you've filled roles in product development, in finance, in marketing, in e-commerce, both in New York and, quite frankly, in Europe and in Asia, which is pretty amazing. And I have one fantastic graduate who works for me, and her name is Alex Hardiman. She graduated from the program, and she runs Erin Beauty. Their participation in this incredibly unique educational experiences really enhances, as Lisa says, the ability to innovate, to lead, and it is a truly great honor for me to be here tonight to present this award for the Estee Lauder companies to a member of the faculty. And the recipient each year is nominated by the graduating class, and it's based on this faculty member's inspiration in the classroom, innovative teaching, coaching, and mentoring, and knowledge of the subject matter. And as is the tradition, and we do this every time, I'm going to read some of the quotes, and this is in reverse, from the students about this professor. So the first one, this professor definitely went beyond teaching, inspiring me with an empowering leadership style and playing an important role in my professional development. Second comment, this professor's unique approach in our industry and to our work life made their course enthralling and fun to learn. This professor's class was the most influential class that I've had so far as it relates to my own job. I brought insights from this class directly to the workplace and used what I learned to ignite positive change within my organization. This professor instilled in students how important it is for a leader to cultivate creativity in any type of work. I came away from class feeling inspired, energized, and with a fresh new outlook. This professor's commitment to innovation challenged each and every member of the class to be creative and dismissed the notion that only certain roles, like creative people, are creative. We know that's not true. And the professor is a fantastic teacher who imbues the classroom with positive energy and the space to push creativity, share ideas, and foster rich discussions. So I am delighted to present the Estee Lauder Company's Faculty Leadership Award on behalf of you, the class of 2017, to Professor Mark Polson. And by the way, this is the second time that he has gotten this award. I think it was in 2014. So Mark, a big congratulations to you, and we are obviously super, super, super proud of you.
So as I always like to say at the end of the program, the handsome gentleman behind me is my other boss, our 4-year Industry Advisory Board Chair, Jerry Vittoria. And Jerry, I want to take the opportunity to publicly congratulate you not only on your recent promotion to Head of Global Fine Fragrance for Firmenich, a richly deserved honor, but also your election as a director of the FIT Foundation, and say, as a matter of pride, that is the 4th member of our Industry Advisory Board to be elevated to the Foundation Board, and we're very, very proud. Tonight's last award is the highest award that we give, and it is the Department Medal, which is to a student in each graduating class who is recognized at FIT commencement and at our hooding ceremony as the outstanding member of the class of 2017 for the degree program. It is voted by the faculty, and it is based on a compilation of all elements: scholarship, leadership, service to the college. It'll be no surprise to you that this year's recipient is Crystal Sy of the Estee Lauder Companies. We have a saying in the program, and it goes something like, Crystal is in the house. And tonight, let me tell you, Crystal is in the house. Congratulations.
On behalf of the advisory board, I want to congratulate the class of 2017, and especially to Firmish very own Alina and to Carrie Cohen. And we have your awards later. And I'd like to say once again, we've been inspired. We've been given amazing insights. I know the industry board could not be happier and prouder of all of you. And I want to thank also Shiseido, Mark Ray, Mark Buisson, Jean-Marc Buisson, and all of your team here for your fantastic support for this program. And next time, get on here on time, though, would you? And thank you very much. And please join us now for refreshments up on stage. Thank you.